Good morning, students. We are about to finish our third chapter, that is human reproduction. So I am going to discuss the remaining parts or remaining topics of human reproduction. Today we are going to discuss parturition, then lactation. Up to here we have discussed that how fertilization took place, how zygote formation took place. This zygote, after different mitotic divisions, it was converted into embryo. Then in this embryo germ layers were formed, that was gastrula formation. And after gastrula formation, organogenesis takes place, in which organs are formed. During this time period, this embryo is going to develop into a complete unborn baby. And the birth, after the finish of gestation period, the birth of the individual, the unborn baby, take place, and this is known as parturition. So parturition simply means birth of an individual from the mother's womb. Now this fetus is expelled out through the birth canal, and that is known as parturition. So what is happening in parturition? There are various changes in the uterus of the mother that is leading to parturition. Parturition basically initiates with uterine contraction. Contractions in uterus takes place. If we move in a sequential manner, initially the contractions are very slow. There is peristaltic movement in the muscles in the walls of the uterus, and these uterine contractions are leading to the dilation of cervix. Here one hormone is also functioning, that is relaxin, and this relaxin is released by the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. In all the process of parturition, our nervous system as well as our endocrine system both are functioning. The messages are given by nerves, and the glands are going to respond by secreting various hormones. See, when uterine contractions are going to start, this symbol is given by the fetus itself. What fetus is going to do when it is going to finish the gestation period, it is fully mature, then it is going to secrete some of the hormones. And the placenta also is going to release some of the hormones. These are basically the hormones that are indicating the maturation of fetus. Now, crossing the placenta, these hormones are coming in contact with the maternal blood. And through this maternal blood, the nerves are going to carry the signals to pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is going to release hormones like relaxin, and most important, it is going to secrete hormone, that is oxytocin. So oxytocin is also secreted by the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. This oxytocin is known as birth hormone because it is released at the time of birth of an individual. Now what this oxytocin is doing? This oxytocin is initiating the uterine contractions. Later on, this oxytocin is also initiating or also it is also activating the secretion of prostaglandins from placenta. And these prostaglandins, I said, in starting the uterine contractions are very slow, but after the secretion of these prostaglandins, there will be strong uterine contractions. These strong uterine contractions are creating a pressure, and they are helping in the downward movement of fetus. So oxytocin is going to release prostaglandins, and these prostaglandins are again strengthening the uterine contraction. More force will be applied for these contractions. So a uterine contraction initiated because of the fetal hormone that was secreted, and dilation of cervix takes place because of the production of relaxin. Oxytocin is initiating, strong uterine contractions, and these all processes are basically helping in the expulsion. Expulsion means the fetus is, or the unborn baby is expelled out of the mother's body. This is how the whole process is taking place. Now this whole process is taking place at the end of gestation period, that is almost of 280 days. So the gestation period is of 280 days. And at the end of this time period, if the birth of an individual is taking place, it is the parturition. But if before the end of the gestation period, in the 7th or 8th month, if birth of an individual is taking place, that is a premature birth. Before the end of this gestation period. And if this birth of individual is taking place at about 20 week time, in period of 20 week, that is known as abortion, because at this time period the fetus is not having all the type of structures that are helping him or her to survive. So the survival is not possible. That's why abortion takes place. Now this parturition is having various stages. Basically the whole process of parturition is divided into 3 stages. The first stage of parturition is known as dilation. Dilation word is specific, suggesting there is dilation of vagina and cervix, because this vagina is going to act as a birth canal. Now this dilation is possible by the help of hormone relaxin, and because of the secretion of oxytocin also, the uterine contraction has started, but the uterine contraction over here is very slow, and this period is going to last for almost 12 hours. So here there is initiation of uterine contraction, but these contractions are, at this time these contractions are not very strong. These uterine contractions, because of this contraction, the amnion and chorion are going to rupture. You remember embryon and chorion? Chorion is the outermost extra-embryonic membrane, and inside that another embryonic membrane is present, that is amnion, and inside the amnion amniotic fluid is filled. So because of the rupture of this amnion, amniotic fluid will release and it will come out of the vagina. This release of amniotic fluid is lubricating the path. Lubricating vagina simply means lubricating the path of childbirth. So that will be helpful during the process of parturition. Another thing that happens is the fetal part of placenta. The fetal placenta is going to removed, or it is going to collapse from the uterine wall, and the fetus will be set free. So fetal placenta will break its contact from uterus. And because of this, the fetus will be free. So all these events are taking place during the first stage of parturition, that is dilation. Now second comes the main stage, that is expulsion stage, or you can say the stage at which birth of an individual is going to take place. The second phase is called expulsion phase. In this expulsion phase, there is high concentration of oxytocin, and this oxytocin has also stimulated the secretion of prostaglandins. See, how, or you can say at what time oxytocin is going to be secreted? Simply the activation of secretion of oxytocin is done by the low concentration of estrogen and progesterone. We said that during the complete time of pregnancy, progesterone level was maintained because that is responsible for maintaining the pregnancy throughout the time of gestation period. Now, at the end of gestation period, the concentration of estrogen and progesterone is going to decrease, and this low concentration is activating the secretion of oxytocin from posterior lobe of pituitary. So, at the second stage, the concentration of oxytocin and prostaglandins are increased, and because of this increased concentration there are strong uterine contractions, and these strong uterine contractions are leading to labor, or you can say the pain that is coming at this time is labor pain. What happens due to these strong uterine contractions? These uterine contractions are basically pushing the fetus downward. The head is oriented on the downward side near the cervix, and the limbs are, or the legs are on the upper side. So, and the lower portions, the cervix and vagina are already dilated. So, all these uterine contractions are inducing the labor, which is finally expelling out the fetus out of the body. So, this is happening in the expulsion phase, or you can say at the time of birth, during birth. During the whole pregnancy time period, the uterus has already expanded to accommodate the growing fetus. Now, after the birth of an individual, the uterus is going to come in its original form, means it start contracting. The cervix and vagina that were dilated, again they are going to come in their original position. So, all the structures after the birth of an individual will start contracting. So, the third phase will be the placental phase. Third phase is known as placental phase. What happens is this placental phase. Here the uterine contractions lead to the expulsion of fetus. Now uterus is going to come in its original position. When uterus is going to come in its original position, the placenta, the maternal part of the placenta is going to be expelled out of the body, because during its contraction of uterine, this placenta will be having no connection with the uterus, and finally it will also be removed out. That's why it is known as placental stage. So at this time period, the placenta will be expelled out by the uterine contraction. See, when birth of an individual is taking place, that umbilical cord stick attached with the uterus, with the fetus, so it is finally cut, and the fetus is completely detached from the placenta and the umbilical cord. So, after the birth of an individual, the placenta is going to come out, and this is because of the continuous contraction of uterus. Now, to prevent excessive bleeding, the cervix and vagina are also contracting, so that excessive bleeding will not take place. This is how the whole process of parturition is going to take place. After few months, you can say 1 or 2 months, the uterus will acquire its original position. The whole expansion that uterus has undergone, that will continue contraction process, and it will come in its original position. Now, another different changes are coming in the body of a female after parturition, and the important one is lactation. Lactation simply means milk production. After the birth of a fetus, the mammary glands of a female are going to start production of milk, and this milk production is known as lactation. This milk production, this lactation only takes place after the birth of a fetus, and it starts within the time period of 24 hours. After the birth of a fetus, within 24 hours, the mammary glands are going to release, or they are going to secrete milk. Now, There are again some hormones which are responsible for the initiation of milk secretion, and one important from them is prolactin. What this prolactin is doing? This prolactin is initiating the mammary glands for milk secretion. Now prolactin is initiating milk secretion, plus this milk will be stored in the ducts that are sinuses, milk sinuses that are present over there. There is requirement of oxytocin also, because oxytocin is responsible for the release of milk. From the mammary glands with the help of ducts. With help of duct, and from nipples this milk will come out. So oxytocin is releasing the milk from mammary glands, and prolactin is responsible for initiating the secretion of mammary glands. If we see the amount of milk production, initially the amount of milk production is very low. The quantity is very small, but as soon as the fetus or the child is going to suck the milk, that is sending a message to the posterior lobe of pituitary, and this posterior lobe of pituitary again starts to release more oxytocin, and after some time period the milk production will start to increase, and a female can produce 1 to 2 liters of milk every day, and this much is sufficient to fulfill the requirements of a newborn child. Now this milk is containing various things. The milk that is produced in the starting, that is known as colostrum, and this colostrum is produced within 2 to 3 days after giving birth to an individual. This colostrum is almost pale yellow in color, and it is highly important because it is containing some of the immunoglobulins. Like most important that is present in the colostrum is IgA. This IgA is acting as a passive immunity for the child, because during birth or after the birth of an individual, the immune system is still not that much functioning. So the mother antibodies are providing immunity to the child. So IgA is present in the colostrum, that is providing immune, or that is going to act as a immune system for the child. There is one another immunoglobulin, that is IgG, and this IgG is going to be crossing the placenta and it will reach the fetus. So during the time of pregnancy, mother also provides passive immunity to the child with the help of placenta. So that's why colostrum is important. What mother's milk is containing? The mother milk is containing protein like casein. Casein is there, sugar are there, fats are there. They are lacking in. There is very less amount of vitamin C. There is some deficiency of iron. But this milk is a complete diet for a newborn baby. This is how lactation is taking place. So this is almost everything about human reproduction. Let's discuss very small topic, that is twins. Twins, as the name is suggesting, that at the time of birth, a woman is giving birth to 2 children at the same time. That means in the womb of the mother, 2 fetus were developing, and finally she gave birth to 2 fetus or 2 child. How these twins are formed? These twins are going to form by 2 different methods. One are known as non-identical, or you can say dizygotic. First let's discuss about monozygotic twins. The name is suggesting mono means single, Zygotic means zygote. So the twins that are coming from single zygote are called as monozygotic twins. How this is possible? See, a ovum was present inside the fallopian tube of the female, and finally one sperm is going to enter and going to fuse with it, and the fusion is resulting in the formation of zygote. This we have studied. Now this zygote is undergoing various mitotic divisions, and the number of cells are continuously increasing, and they are leading to the formation of blastomeres. Cells are formed here, and these cells are known as blastomere. During blastomere, I already told you that the division, or you can say the all over process, is basically indeterminate. This means the fate of these cells has not been decided yet. That means these cells are completely totipotent cell, and they are able to form all the organs, all the body parts of the individual. If this blastomere splits into two, and the cells are already totipotent cells, that means these two zygotes, now one single is formed, divided into two, they are going to grow into complete new individual. So zygote, only single zygote was there, but at last, because of the breakage or cleavage, two fetus are going to grow into in the womb of the female. Now what characteristics these individuals are going to form? Single zygote was there, that simply means single ovum fused with one single sperm. This was happened, that means these individuals are going to carry one single sex. Either if the sperm was Y, the ovum was already having X, that means it was a male. So both the individuals are going to carry XY. So both will be male. That means the individuals who are monozygotic twins, they always are of same sex, because they are going to form from a single zygote. Plus their genetic composition is almost same. That is completely identical to each other, because same ovum and same sperm are going to contribute the genes. So these individuals are completely identical to each other, completely identical with same genetic composition. Plus these individuals are of same sex. These will be the characteristics. They are almost, we are not able to recognize or differentiate them very easily. Such type of individuals are monozygotic twins. In some cases it happens that this blastomere is not able to divide completely, the cleavage is not complete, and some parts of the blastomere remains attached to each other. From some portion it is detaching, but some parts are going to remain attached. They are still in contact with each other. This is giving rise to conjoined twins. That means two twins are there, but they are attached with some of the body parts are common, or their bodies are attached to each other. These are some of the abnormal situations. Now the second type of twins that are present are dizygotic twins. And you can say non-identical twins. Di means two zygotes are going to form. For formation of two zygote, there will be requirement of two ovum. That simply means in some cases the ovum is released by both the ovaries. One ovary is going to release one ovum, and in the same month the second ovary is also going to release the second ovum. That means in the fallopian tube of a female, two ovum are present. Two sperms are going to fuse with, two separate sperms are going to fuse with this ovum, leading to the formation of two different zygotes. Zygotes will be formed, and that are of different genetic composition, because this ovum will have some other genetic composition, this sperm also, and same cases happening with this also. So Simply here two zygotes are formed. Then what characteristics these individuals are going to show? These individuals are non-identical because they are having different genetic composition. Plus, these individuals are of different sexes. They can be of same sex, that is a matter of chance, or they can be of different sexes. This is how they are easily distinguishable. We can easily differentiate between them. This is how dizygotic and monozygotic twins are formed. With this, we are completed with this chapter. Next, we will start with our next chapter.